Hello and welcome to today's episode number 13 of the Human Condition Podcast. I'm your host, American Council on Exercise Certified Personal Trainer, Gary Jones. This episode is late, and I'm going to apologize in advance if I sound weird, if I'm clearing my throat, or if this podcast seems overly edited because I'm still clearing gunk from the last almost 6 weeks of our household being racked with illness. Between my wife, myself, and my daughter, we have had sinus infections, ear infections, upper respiratory infections, viral infections, whatever it is, it needs to go. It's just been sleepless nights and snot and tissues and antibiotics. It's been absolutely brutal. So I'm still trying to clear the gunk out, and it's been frustrating. I don't even want to talk about the amount of times that I have started and deleted the recording of this podcast just because I had a coughing fit that caused me to lose my train of thought. But there is a second reason why the podcast is late, and I've never talked about this before or written about it in social media, but my property is a little bit of a homestead, and so that requires some work. And I capitalized on the nice weather that we've had for spring so far in order to, get things in the ground, planted, cleaned up, do some maintenance. I have garden beds where I try to grow vegetables. I have fruit trees. I have chickens. And so it's been a little bit of work, which I will recommend in hindsight not doing while you have an upper respiratory infection, but I survived. And so here we are. This is going to require me to shift the schedule around just a little bit. I'm going to have to go through and reschedule a bunch of things that are scheduled to post in order to try to get myself back on track. But the first thing that I wanted to talk about in the podcast today is an idea that I had while curled up in the couch, suffering, and that was an expansion to the business. And so I started doing some research on things that were available in order to expand the business, certifications, equipment, etc. And so I'm kind of fleshing out an idea, and it's very much in the infancy stages, like very research heavy, information gathering, but fleshing out an idea that would allow me to help people understand their health and fitness from a personal trainer perspective better on an individual level. And this won't necessarily help online clients or people who read the blog or listen to the podcast. Specifically, it's going to benefit people who are more local to me or have the ability to drive into an office to see me if and when I do get an office, if this pans out. I mean, I have a home office, but my home is not very conducive to seeing clients in person. And so I'm excited. I'm excited to explore this opportunity to see where it goes. I'm very much the type of person who, when I have a grand idea, I put the cart before the horse and I get very excited. And so that often leads to disappointment, but we'll see. I'll keep everybody updated. Speaking of keeping people updated, I know in the last blog post I said that I would keep everybody updated on our progress with the keto diet. My wife and I were on a moderate keto diet, and I say were because we stopped after, I think, 7 weeks. And I know 7 weeks is not a long time to experience the long-term benefits of the keto diet, but we stopped because in reality it was very difficult to manage, especially once everybody started getting sick, because keto is finicky and you have to be meticulous about tracking everything that you're consuming in order to make sure that you stay in ketosis. And so it wasn't going to work for us to have to try to do that and then manage, a sick child or just being sick in general, or trying to make sure that you cooked a meal that was low enough in carbs. So we stopped. And we weren't really on it for any other reason, just to see what would happen. And so, it's not like there was a major loss, but from the time that I was on the keto diet, after the water weight adjustment period, after the first few days, I did continue to lose some weight, and my body proportions also changed, which leads me to think that I was in fact burning fat because I was still in kind of a low activity lifestyle, minus like all the work that I was doing out, on the homestead. But I could see where those benefits would work for me, specifically me, because I can't speak for everybody. But I mean, we never really wanted for anything in terms of food. Like the food choices we had were great. The recipes we found were fantastic. The consumer market has really evolved in a way where you can find just about anything that's going to fit your dietary needs and also not make you feel like you're restricting yourself, which is fantastic. But the way that I normally go throughout the year and through our meal planning is that when we go to plan our meals, if we find a new recipe, I will spend the time to weigh out the ingredients and then to weigh out the portion sizes in order to be able to write on the recipe card the calories and macro breakdown per portion. Because then we can add it to our repertoire of recipes. And then whenever we go through and we're trying to figure out what we want to make for the week, all we have to do is go and pull out a few cards and then we already know. Like we don't have to go and plug it in and see where we're at because at least for me in my life, it's not easy to just constantly remember to track everything. And even still, it's more difficult to track everything whenever you're cooking meals at home because it can change based on how much of the thing is that you ate. So, I mean, that might be something that works for you. And some people really, really like tracking everything. They like the gamification of it all. They like to be able to see their progress on a day-to-day basis, and that's fine. But in hindsight, I wish I had treated it more like an experiment. I wish I had gotten blood work done at the beginning and then also at the end in order to see if there was any kind of acute metabolic changes, hormone levels, whatever the case may be. And I think next time that might be something that I explore doing because there will be a next time. I liked it enough that I would be willing to do it again. And hopefully for a longer period that time. Like, you never know. Reality just, you bend to reality. Reality does not bend to you. So, yeah, that was my foray into the keto diet. And nothing's really gone off kilter since getting off of it. Like, I haven't gained any weight back. But we're still, we're still making the conscious choice to buy things that are low sugar, no sugar, really avoiding a ton of overly processed carbohydrates. So like we gleaned from that there are things that work for us in our regular day-to-day life. So we're keeping what works and we'll adjust fire as needed because I like to treat everything when it comes to myself as an experiment because health and fitness is very, very much an individual thing. Most of the stuff that you find on the internet is they're generalizations, especially when you're finding like blood work ranges, because the ranges are based off of what is generally occurring in the population and not necessarily what is optimal to you. And so I can look at myself from an objective standpoint when it comes to doing these little experiments. Like I say, don't weigh yourself every day because it's really not good for your mental health if you're a person who attaches emotion to what they see on the scale. But because I'm treating everything as an experiment, I weigh myself every day. And not every day. There are some days that I miss, and it really doesn't bother me that I miss them. But it helps me figure out on a day-to-day basis what causes the fluctuations. Like, did I have enough sleep last night? Am I hydrated enough? Like, what did I eat differently today? Did I exercise or have I exercised in the last few days? Those type of things affect what my day-to-day weight is. And I have one of those scales that has bioelectrical impedance, and it will tell me, not necessarily to an astoundingly accurate level, because I don't trust the accuracy of these at-home devices, but it gives me a baseline. I watch whether it goes up or down and not necessarily specifically what the number is. It gives me some metrics to follow. And then I also have a fitness tracking device that I wear all the time when I sleep, whenever. And so I use the metrics from that and I combine all the information together. And I'm really, really trying to narrow down what is the most optimal for me. And in doing that, I think that it will help me help other people figure out how to perform these little types of experiments on themselves so that they can then go on and find what's optimal for them. Because what you can't do is find what's optimal for you based on generalized information you can find on the internet. Like it takes a little bit of work. So I really don't want to get super into the weeds about the blogs, just because this podcast is so late. I don't want to make it excessively long for the sake of covering them. The first one was about personal trainers recommending supplements to people. And to me, that's a gray area, but one that I can understand from all perspectives. I have talked before about my opinion on the supplement industry, and I'm not going to get into that because if you've heard it, you already know my feelings. What I can say is I understand it from the personal trainer's perspective who is either selling or considering selling supplements, because this is a difficult field to have a really lucrative career in. There has to be like this perfect storm of coincidence in order for you to really take off. And that could be anything from like living in an affluent area, or maybe you're an influencer with a following and has the time to post daily, or you've been in the game for a long time and people just trust you. So far and wide, given the saturation of health and fitness professionals, it is hard to make more of a living than just kind of just making a living. And so I understand the draw to want to bolster your income with selling supplements, especially if this is your business, because businesses need income to function and stay running. And so if you found a way in order to bolster that income to keep your business open, your livelihood open, then I get it from that perspective. It's just, it's hard because there's like an ethical dilemma within it. When a client comes to you, they look at you as the subject matter expert. And as that expert, when you're also then selling them a supplement, it can cause them to think that that's the thing that they need in order to get the results that they're trying to achieve. And you need to figure out whether or not you're selling these supplements because you know that it will help them, you know that it's what they need, versus you're selling them to earn a commission. And even going further into knowing what they need, like the supplement industry, it's unregulated, it's not FDA approved. You don't know what the dosing and quality is from company to company, or even from product to product within the same company. I'm going to use a really grand example, and that is back in the 90s and early 2000s, there was a compound in fat burners called ephedra or ephedrine, and it was banned in 2004 only after it caused strokes, heart attacks, and it killed people. So that is really something to bear in mind whenever you're recommending a supplement, especially things that have stimulants in them to people, is there's a liability attached with that. And so you want to protect yourself either by having the appropriate liability insurance or just not selling them if you don't have to. In addition to that, in some places, and I have not gone far enough into the research on this to figure it out where specifically, but the selling of supplements could fall under the realm of nutrition and dietetics, which then takes it out of the realm of your scope of practice as a personal trainer, which then makes it illegal, which again is a liability. And I live in New York State, and we're very regulation heavy, but we don't have, I don't believe that we have that type of oversight on health and fitness professionals selling supplements here. So just something to be cautious of. And this isn't necessarily to scare people, or I'm not judging people for selling them. It's just, I really think that transparency is key in this whole thing. And so I try to be as transparent as possible. And this is a topic that came up that I decided to cover. The next blog was about stretching, the importance of stretching, and why you should pay more attention to it in your health and fitness routine. In my early years, on my early health and fitness journey as a young adult, I did not know, or maybe I did not care so much about the importance of stretching. I would skip it at the end of every workout because I was too tired, or I didn't have time, or whatever the case may be. Like, I just wouldn't do it. Older me is paying for it. I have imbalances in my body. I have joint issues, back pain, all of these things that I can now alleviate by practicing mobility and stretching routines. But it's important enough to discuss. And maybe these are things that you don't realize, but stretching can help alleviate things like muscle stiffness and stuff. And I mean, it can help alleviate age-related stiffness. And when I say age-related, it's not necessarily age so much as it is lifestyle. Your body will adapt to the lifestyle that you live. So if you're a person who goes to work every day and sits behind a desk, your body will adapt to that by lengthening certain muscles, tightening certain muscles in order to hold your body in a position that is most comfortable to hold for that prolonged period of time. And so when you're out of that position is when the pain and the discomfort start. Stretching can help alleviate that. Stretching will not necessarily fix your posture. What it will do is alleviate some of the tension that is built up in these muscles. Stretching can help with delayed onset muscle soreness. You might have heard of it referred to it as DOMS. It can help prevent exercise-induced injury. It will not necessarily prevent the injury, but it will help to prevent the injury, because in stretching and doing mobility routines, you are increasing the resilience of your joints and cartilage, and alleviating pinch points and over-taut muscles that are not in the ideal position for whatever movement it is that you're trying to do. What I like to compare it to is, if you've ever seen an old rubber band that you haven't touched for a long time, say it's just a loose rubber band that's sitting on, in a drawer, or it's a rubber band that's been tightly wrapped around something for a while. And in both cases, the rubber band breaks down. And so if you think about that in terms of your muscles, ligaments, cartilage, and joints, the not using of the rubber band, the not flexing, touching, etc., has caused it to become stiff and brittle. And I think it's an important comparison to make, albeit extreme, because you're not going to snap like a rubber band as you age, but the constant exercising and movement of these things is what keeps them healthy. It's what keeps them resilient, and it's what helps you live a life that is less uncomfortable and more pain-free. And that carries, the benefits carry with you into the future as you age. As long as you keep moving, you can stave off a lot of these age-related things that occur. But all of that is to say that, you shouldn't skip stretching. You shouldn't skip mobility. The blog goes on to discuss, 4 main types of stretching that you can engage in. Each of these types of stretching has their own intended purpose. Use case, I guess you could say. I'm not going to get into them now because I have struggled to get through this podcast between restarting it and all of the editing that I'm going to have to do to cut out my coughing and throat clearing. But yeah, I wanted to make sure that I got this out so that I wasn't super late. No, I haven't gone anywhere. I've not fallen off. I've not given up. I'm just really catering to what reality is dishing out at me. So with that being said, that'll be the end of this podcast. Next podcast will hopefully be, more in depth, not as condensed, not late. If you like the podcast, if you have a question, if you have a comment, you can leave it as a comment on the podcast. You can leave it as a comment on YouTube because this also posts to YouTube. You can email it to me. You can leave it on my social media accounts, whatever the case may be. If you want to contact me, you can reach out on any of those platforms. You can even leave comments on the blogs themselves, which is on the website. I will make sure to put the website in the bio for today's episode because I feel like I've been really bad about doing that. And if people can't find the website or they can't find the social media, then how are they going to find it? But yeah, I would really like to engage with the people that watch and listen to this. It would be fantastic. I love to do it. I love to answer questions. I love to research topics in depth. If you have a topic that you want me to cover that you're interested in, let me know that as well. But without further ado, I'm going to go slam some water and probably eat a cough drop. So, until next time.